Hi guys! So, it's pajama day! So, if you're watching this and you're not already in your pajamas, I need you to go put your pajamas on. Pause the video, put your pajamas on, because today is pajama day. I have on my thumper pajamas, and they're footy pajamas, and they are my comfiest pajamas I own. So I can't wait to hear what pajamas you guys wore for pajama day. Before we get into chapter 3, I just want to give a huge shout out to Aliyah and Shanice who commented on my last video. I enjoyed getting to talk to you guys even though we are on our break from school right now. Next thing, I wanted to go over something that we went over before we had our 2-week break from school, just to kind of remind you of our different character roles. Remember, we have protagonist. Those are one of our main characters. Those are like the good guys, the superheroes. We have our antagonists, who are like our bad guys or the more negative characters. We have sidekicks, which are like partners in crime. We have love interest. So I want you to think of these different character roles when we're reading our story, and maybe you can pick out some of the characters in this book that might fall into one of those character roles. Maybe we have an antagonist, maybe we have a protagonist, maybe we have a sidekick. Are Jack and Annie both protagonists? Are they sidekicks? I want to hear what you guys think. So please, again, feel free to comment below. I love having conversations with you guys, and I like that so many of you guys are watching these videos. It makes me see that you really care about our read alouds, and it makes me super happy to be able to provide this for you and be able to read with you guys, even though I can't be physically there with you. So again, if you're not in your PJs, what are you waiting for? It's pajama day. You have to put your pajamas on. And I'm going to start reading chapter 3. So, last chapter they began swimming on this raft, or rowing this raft, and they were about to go snorkeling. So this chapter is called Attack. Let's see what's going to happen next. The underwater coral reef was huge, and the world around it was teeming with life. Seaweed waved in the gentle current, pink and orange coral branched out in all directions, and hundreds of fish, as colorful as jelly beans, swam among the plants and the lacy coral. Jack saw sleek, skinny fish, spiny fish, and flatfish. He saw fish that looked like butterflies, porcupines, and spindly stars. As he kept swimming and looking through his mask, Jack saw green turtles feeding on algae. This is just a picture of him snorkeling. So for you guys that are unaware, snorkeling is when they put these like protective masks on and these flippers, and they go underwater so that they can see the fish that lie below. So this is again him looking at the different fish with his snorkeling gear. You see he has his flippers, his life jacket, the mask. He saw huge crabs, jellyfish, and even a stingray among the wavy grasses. But nothing Jack saw scared him, and none of the creatures seemed afraid of him either. With his mask and flippers, Jack figured he'd look just like another strange sea animal. A yellow striped fish darted directly up to his mask, looked at him in the eyes, then darted off again. A school of tiny white fish swam over his body, tickling him like feathers. As he drifted around the reef, Jack saw orange starfish clustered over the coral ridges and tiny yellow seahorses bobbing near the coral branches. Annie would love those little horses, he thought. Annie? Jack had been having such a great time he'd forgotten all about Annie. Treading water, he pulled the snorkel out of his mouth, lifted his mask, and looked around for her. The raft was far away. The offshore breeze had pushed it farther out to sea. Jack waved and shouted, "Annie!" Annie waved back. She paddled toward him. "Your turn," Jack said, gasping when he reached the raft. "How was it?" said Annie, pulling off her tunic. "Unbelievable," said Jack, climbing aboard. "You're gonna love it." He put his glasses back on and pulled off his flippers. "It's like a beautiful garden. Turtles, starfish, and look for the tiny yellow seahorses around the coral." "I can't wait," said Annie, cramming her feet into her flippers. "Here." She handed Jack the paddle. "You have to paddle pretty hard. The wind's pushing the raft." "I noticed," said Jack. "Swim towards the beach and you'll see the reef. I'll paddle after you, then we'll head back to shore." "Good plan." Annie pulled on her mask and stuck the snorkel in her mouth. Jack balanced the raft as Annie sat on the edge. "Have fun," said Jack. The raft rocked as Annie slid into the water. She started swimming back toward the reef. Jack tried to follow close behind her, but the current kept pushing the raft farther out to sea. For a long time, he paddled hard just to stay in place. At one point, the current was so strong the raft turned sideways. Jack struggled to turn it back toward the beach. When he got the raft under control again, he looked back toward the reef area. He couldn't see any. The waves had gotten higher. The sea seemed vast and not nearly as safe and friendly. Jack looked in every direction. Finally, he saw something further out to sea. Can that be Annie's snorkel? Why would she swim so far out, he wondered. "Jack!" He turned around. Annie was bobbing on a wave not far from the raft. "It is incredible," she shouted, holding up her mask. "Totally incredible." "Come on, get aboard," Jack yelled. "We have to go back. The current's too strong. Or maybe the wind, whatever, we have to get back." Something else was bothering Jack, really bothering him. What was that thing I saw? He wondered. He turned and looked out to sea again. Jack froze in horror. That thing was still sticking up out of the water. Now it was closer, and he could see what it was. It was a fin. A large fin. The fin was slicing swiftly through the water, heading straight for them. "Get on the raft!" Jack screamed to Annie. "Hurry!" He began frantically paddling toward her, struggling against the current. When he looked over his shoulder, he saw the huge fin still zigzagging towards them. "Hurry!" Jack shrieked. Annie flung herself toward the raft. Grabbing the side, she gasped for air. "What's wrong?" she sputtered. "Why are you freaking out?" "Just get on board," he cried. "Why?" "Don't ask. Get on or die," he yelled. Annie clambered aboard. "What is it?" she asked, pulling off her mask and snorkel. "What did you see?" "Look behind us," Jack shouted. He was still struggling with the paddle, trying to point the raft toward shore. "Ah! Shark!" Annie cried. "Jack! A shark!" "I know," said Jack. "Let's go! Go!" cried Annie. "I'm trying," said Jack. He looked over his shoulder. The shark fin moved toward them. Then it started to circle the raft. Sharks circle their prey before they attack, Jack remembered. Using all of his strength, he tried to turn the raft and head back to shore. But the wind and waves were too strong. "Where is it?" cried Annie. "Where did it go?" With the waves rising, Jack couldn't see the shark fin either. Maybe it's gone," he said. "Ah!" screamed Annie. The shark's huge head came over the side of the raft, its mouth wide open. "Ah!" yelled Jack. Without thinking, he raised his paddle and whacked the giant shark on the nose. The shark reared up and dug his jagged teeth into the wooden paddle, ripping it out of Jack's hand. Then the creature sank back down into the sea, and its fin glided away through the water. "It's gone," said Annie. "Not gone," cried Jack. "Look." The shark had moved away from the raft, but it was circling them again. "We need magic, Jack," shouted Annie. "We have to use a gold coin." "We can only use them to have fun," Jack said. "You don't think it would be fun to escape the shark?" said Annie. She pulled out the green velvet purse with the gold coins. She took out one of the 3 coins and held it up. The magic coin glittered in the Caribbean sunshine. "We wish to have fun escaping that shark," she shouted. She tossed the coin high into the air. Like a tiny firework display, it burst into a shower of fiery red and blue sparkles. The raft suddenly spun like a top. Then it shot up the face of a large wave. So this is the raft after they lost the paddle. So if you notice, they don't have a paddle with them because the shark already took the paddle from them. You can't see the shark in this picture, but I'm assuming this happened right after she tossed the coin up, and maybe they're just like sliding in the wave there. Jack and Annie screamed. The raft crested the wave, slid down on the other side, and zoomed farther out to sea. Another swell lifted the raft, then brought it down smoothly. And again, the raft shot across the surface of the water. Jack and Annie held on to each other as the raft rolled over one swell after another, rising and dipping in the rhythm with the waves. Sea spray blasted them. Salt water sloshed over their sides, but magically, Jack and Annie stayed aboard. "It's like that bullet ride at Wade City Water Park," Annie cried. It is like a water park ride, Jack thought, but he was still in shock. Where'd the shark go? He wondered. Are there other sharks? How will we get back without a paddle? "I love this," shouted Annie, laughing. "It's so much fun." Finally, the exhilaration of the ride overcame Jack's worries. As if harnessing the wind and current, the raft kept sliding up and down the swells, heading west. Seagulls followed it, shrieking overhead. The raft kept roller coastering across the sea, sliding up and down over more waves. Moving with great speed, the raft seemed to know exactly where to go. "Hey, land! Is that land?" Annie said, pointing across the water. Jack saw a jagged, rocky coastline with a strip of gleaming white sand. "Yes, yes," he shouted. "It's land." And that is the end of chapter 3. So, in this chapter, it seems like we may have found an antagonist. If Jack and Annie are our protagonists or are good characters, the shark was kind of like an antagonist. The shark was circling around them to potentially try and eat them. And he created a giant conflict by taking their paddle, so now they had no way to get back to shore. They had to use one of their magic coins. So I'm super curious to hear what you guys think is going to happen next in this story. So much has happened and we're only on chapter 3. I really wonder how this story is going to end. Again, make sure you wear your pajamas today because it's pajama day. And you got to keep your pajamas on pajama day. And yes, comment below anything you want to comment. You can tell me about your pajamas. And you can tell me about what you think is going to happen next in this story. And for those of you who thought I dyed my hair green yesterday, I was just messing with you guys. I did not dye my hair green. We are back to normal. Thank you guys for watching this chapter, and I will see you back here tomorrow for the next chapter. Bye.